A photo, torn at the edges, shows a smoking Sherman tank abandoned by the roadside near Caen, 1944. The caption, barely legible, calls it a flaming coffin, a nickname whispered with contempt among German crews. Die Zündlunte, the matchstick. Yet months later, that very model was among the last to roll into Berlin's ruins. How could a tank so reviled survive where the mightiest faltered? The radio intercept, a fragment of static and garbled commands, hints at confusion, at a failure to anticipate the Sherman's resilience. Was the German disdain a mask for a deeper unease? The contradiction is stark. A weapon scorned for fragility lived on to witness the Reich's collapse. What secret endurance lay beneath its thin armor and faulty reputation? How did the Zündlunte defy all expectations? The Sherman's origins lie in a maelstrom of strategic urgency and industrial compromise. Conceived in 1941, the U.S. Army sought a medium tank that could be mass-produced rapidly, replacing older models and supplementing British forces. The design mandate emphasized speed and reliability over heavy armor, a decision shaped by America's vast production lines and the need for quantity. Blueprints from the Detroit arsenal reveal a 75mm main gun, a 30-ton chassis, and a gasoline engine prone to catastrophic fires. Engineers debated endlessly, caught between battlefield demands and manufacturing realities. The British, initially enthusiastic, soon dubbed it the Ronson. It lights every time. Was this nickname merely scorn or a coded warning of systemic flaws? Could industrial priorities overshadow battlefield survival? What pressures shaped this paradox of mass production and vulnerability? At its core, the Sherman was a study in compromise. 75mm M3 gun, 51mm armor at best, and a gasoline engine that could ignite with a single penetrating hit. Blueprints show a turret ring too small for more powerful guns, limiting upgrades. Its suspension offered decent mobility across varied terrains, but sacrificed shock absorption. Compared to the German Panther's sloped 80mm armor and 75mm KWK 42 L70 cannon, the Sherman seemed underarmed and exposed. A schematic from a captured German workshop labels it light, fast, but a candle in the wind. Yet this very lightness allowed for mechanical reliability and ease of repair. Could its weaknesses be its hidden strengths? Why did German intelligence consistently underestimate the Sherman's battlefield utility? Was the Sherman destined to be a disposable tool, or something more? The first trials against German armor came during the North African campaign, late 1942. A U.S. tank battalion equipped with Shermans met Rommel's Panzer IVs and Tigers near El Guetar. Initial reports hailed speed and crew comfort, but lamented vulnerability. One after-action report describes a Sherman ablaze after a single hit from a 75mm PaK 40, confirming the matchstick reputation. Yet, in the chaos, Shermans often outpaced heavier tanks, exploiting flanks and supporting infantry advances. A faded map shows troop movements around the Kasserine Pass, illustrating how Shermans filled gaps left by slower Allied vehicles. Did commanders misjudge the Sherman by measuring it against heavier German tanks? Was the focus on armor and firepower blinding them to tactical flexibility? How did these early battles shape the tank's evolving role? German countermeasures evolved swiftly. Field manuals from 1943 instructed Panther crews to target Sherman's thin side armor and engine compartments. Infantry tactics emphasized Molotov cocktails and close-quarters ambushes to exploit the Sherman's gasoline vulnerability. Yet, increasing numbers of Shermans flooded the front, forcing German units to adapt. New variants with improved armor and the 76mm gun appeared, complicating German assessments. Intercepted radio chatter from a panzer commander reveals frustration. Their tanks keep coming, faster than we can destroy. The British introduced the Sherman Firefly, mounting a powerful 17-pounder gun, shifting the balance. Was German hatred fueled by the Sherman's persistence rather than its power? How did evolving tactics reveal hidden weaknesses in German strategy? Was the matchstick myth obscuring the tank's deadly adaptability? By late 1944, the Sherman's presence was ubiquitous across the Western Front. During the Battle of the Bulge, Shermans weathered artillery barrages and close combat in the Ardennes' dense forests. Supply lines strained, crews improvised repairs under fire. A German intelligence report from December notes surprise at the Sherman's durability under conditions expected to be fatal. The tank's gasoline fires, once feared, became less common due to improved ammunition storage and wet stowage systems. A map overlay of armored advances shows Sherman's spearheading pushes toward the Rhine, their numbers overwhelming German defenses. Could sheer quantity and logistical resilience have trumped superior German armor? Why did the Sherman, despite its flaws, become a symbol of relentless Allied pressure? What did German commanders fail to anticipate in this final phase? The Sherman's arrival in Berlin's ruins stands as a paradox carved in steel and smoke. Despite being labeled a Zündlunte, the tank endured urban combat, artillery barrages, and desperate German counterattacks. Archival photos from May 1945 depict battered Shermans amidst rubble, their crews weary but alive. The tank's mechanical reliability allowed rapid repair and redeployment, a critical advantage over complex German designs. According to memoirs of a U.S. squadron commander, the Sherman's design philosophy, favoring ease of production and repair over raw power, was its hidden strength. Was the German disdain a strategic miscalculation? Did the matchstick nickname obscure an essential truth? Survival through adaptability and numbers? What lessons linger in this contradiction, buried beneath Berlin's ashes? Each episode is a document I pull from the dust of the archives. Share your own stories. Many of you have relatives who lived through that time, and your words help connect personal memory with archival evidence. Stay curious. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode tomorrow. Beneath the surface of the Sherman's battlefield, reputation lies a shadowy interplay of intelligence failures and psychological warfare. German war correspondents, embedded with panzer units, circulated reports emphasizing the Sherman's inflammability and thin armor, crafting a narrative designed to bolster German morale amid mounting losses. Yet intercepted communications reveal mounting anxiety among commanders as Shermans continued to advance, often without adequate infantry support, but still achieving objectives. A blurred photograph from a German Signal Corps archive shows a burnt-out Sherman next to a shattered Panther, but the accompanying notes reveal confusion. The Sherman's crew had escaped, unscathed. Was the propaganda about the Sherman's fragility a deliberate distortion to mask growing Allied dominance? Why did German intelligence underestimate the Sherman's role in combined arms tactics? Could this misjudgment have accelerated the Wehrmacht's collapse? The Sherman's adaptability extended beyond mere battlefield endurance. As the war progressed, Allied engineers and crews improvised modifications in the field, additional armor plating, makeshift sandbags, and even early attempts at camouflage nets. A scratched blueprint from a frontline repair depot shows retrofitting of flamethrower attachments and mine-clearing devices, turning the matchstick into a multi-role combat platform. These unsanctioned adaptations allowed Shermans to survive hits that would have been fatal earlier in the war. Meanwhile, German anti-tank units struggled to recalibrate their tactics against a foe that was evolving unpredictably. How did this bricolage of field ingenuity slip under the radar of German command? Was the Sherman's survival a testament to Allied logistical superiority or a failure of German reconnaissance? What hidden innovations shaped the tank's late-war successes? The strategic calculus behind the Sherman's deployment reveals a deeper layer of Allied intent. Rather than relying on singular technological superiority, US and British command embraced an attritional approach, flooding the battlefield with Shermans to overwhelm German defenses. Production statistics from 1943 to 44 underscore this. Over 25,000 Shermans rolled off American assembly lines, dwarfing German tank output. Maps detailing armored divisions' movements show waves of Shermans pressing forward, absorbing fire and enabling breakthroughs even when individual tanks faltered. This mass deployment forced German units into reactive stances, often overstretched and poorly resupplied. Could the Sherman's endurance be less about its engineering and more about the industrial machine behind it? Did German strategy fail to account for the sheer volume and persistence of Allied armor? How did this shift the psychological balance on the front? In the crucible of urban warfare, the Sherman confronted new challenges that tested its design limits. Narrow streets, rubble-strewn alleys, and close-quarters combat in Berlin demanded modifications and tactics that deviated sharply from open-field engagements. After-action reports describe crews removing external fuel tanks to reduce fire risk and mounting additional close defense machine guns. A grainy film reel captures a Sherman firing from a shattered building's corner, smoke curling around its turret as infantry advances behind. Despite its nickname, the tank's mechanical resilience and crew training enabled it to navigate the lethal maze, often outlasting heavier German armor immobilized by debris or mechanical failure. Was this unexpected durability a factor in the rapid Allied advance? How did the Sherman's design philosophy inform urban combat effectiveness? What contradictions emerge when a flaming coffin becomes a fortress? Behind the front line, the industrial and logistical networks sustaining the Sherman reveal a silent battle often overlooked. Rail yards, fuel depots, and repair workshops formed a sprawling infrastructure that ensured damaged Shermans returned swiftly to the fight. Diagrams from an American ordnance depot depict streamlined processes for parts replacement, crew retraining, and battlefield recovery operations. In contrast, German supply lines, stretched thin and bombed relentlessly, struggled to maintain their armored forces. A field report from March 1945 notes the inability to replace lost Panthers and Tigers at a sufficient rate. Could the Sherman's survival owe as much to the invisible gears of war as to its physical design? How did Allied logistical superiority undermine German armored resilience? Was the matchstick myth a convenient smokescreen for systemic advantages? The war drew to its brutal close. The Sherman stood as a paradox of industrial warfare, a tank scorned yet indispensable, fragile yet persistent. In the final days around Berlin, remnants of German armor faced overwhelming numbers of Shermans, backed by air superiority and relentless artillery. Photographs from the Soviet archives show Shermans advancing alongside Soviet T-34s, their crews wary but determined. Despite the nickname Zündlunte, the Sherman's endurance symbolized a strategic shift, the victory of mass production, adaptability, and operational pragmatism over technological elegance. What does this tell us about the nature of warfare? Was the Sherman's survival a failure of German intelligence, a triumph of Allied industry, or something more elusive? Why did the matchstick outlive its critics to witness the fall of the Third Reich? In the smoky aftermath of Berlin's final battles, a declassified report from a German armored division commander reveals an unsettling admission. Despite superior firepower and armor, Panther and Tiger units were systematically outnumbered and outmaneuvered by Shermans. The report's margins are smudged, as if hastily annotated under duress, noting the psychological toll on crews witnessing inferior tanks pressing relentlessly forward. A faded photograph shows a line of Shermans, battle-worn and scarred, crawling through shattered streets, their engines roaring against the silence of a dying city. What did this relentless pressure mean for German morale? How did the matchstick transform from an object of ridicule into a symbol of inexorable advance? Was the Sherman's endurance a sign of Allied mastery over attrition warfare, or a deeper failure of German command to adapt? The human element further complicates the Sherman story. Crew memoirs describe a machine that, while flawed, offered a measure of psychological comfort through its reliability and ease of maintenance. One tank driver recounts the eerie calm inside the turret as rounds ricocheted off the armor, a fragile bubble amid chaos. Contrasting testimonies from German tankers speak of frustration and disbelief when facing Shermans that somehow kept fighting after hits that would have destroyed heavier tanks. A black-and-white portrait of a Sherman crew, faces weary but resolute, captures this paradox. Did the Sherman's survival hinge as much on human ingenuity and morale as on steel and firepower? How did these intangible factors shape the tank's battlefield legacy? Could the matchstick nickname have masked a deeper respect born of necessity? Technological evolution in the Sherman line blurred the edges of its early vulnerabilities. The introduction of the M4A3E8 EZ8 variant brought a 76mm gun with improved armor and suspension, narrowing the gap with German counterparts. Technical manuals from 1944 detail these incremental upgrades, reflecting lessons learned from brutal encounters across Europe. Yet, even as these improvements arrived, the Sherman's core philosophy remained: speed, mechanical simplicity, and mass production over sheer firepower. A captured German field manual from late 1944 expresses renewed caution, acknowledging the threat posed by newer Shermans, but still underestimating their numbers. Could these upgrades have prolonged the Sherman's battlefield lifespan? Why did German intelligence persist in viewing the Sherman through the lens of outdated stereotypes? Was the tank's endurance a tale of evolution or stubborn survival? The Sherman story is inseparable from the broader strategic context of Allied warfare. As Soviet forces pushed from the east and Western allies from the west, German armored resources were stretched thin, forcing difficult choices. A 1945 Wehrmacht logistics report reveals critical shortages of fuel and spare parts, grounding many Panthers and Tigers. Shermans, fueled by American industrial might, kept moving. Maps overlaying supply routes show Allied control of critical railways and depots, facilitating rapid resupply and repair. This logistical superiority transformed the battlefield into a war of attrition where numbers and maintenance trumped individual tank superiority. Was the Sherman's survival ultimately a function of overwhelming economic power? Did German tactical brilliance fall victim to strategic exhaustion? How did this imbalance shape the final days of the conflict? The final haunting image comes from a Soviet photographer, embedded with advancing tank units. A Sherman, turret blasted, but tracks intact, perched atop Berlin's Brandenburg Gate. Flames lick the sky, smoke veils the horizon, and the city's ruins stretch endlessly. This tank, once derided as a matchstick, had become a symbol of relentless Allied advance. The photograph's shadowed corners hint at untold stories: the crews who fought, the engineers who adapted, the soldiers who depended on it. In this paradox lies the Sherman's true legacy, a flawed weapon that survived not despite its weaknesses, but because of a complex interplay of strategy, industrial capacity, and human determination. How often do we mistake fragility for failure? What truths lie hidden beneath the surface of war's myths? In the war's aftermath, the Sherman's legacy became a subject of debate among historians and veterans alike. Post-war analyses revealed that the tank's design philosophy, prioritizing mass production, mechanical reliability, and logistical, simplicity was a deliberate choice shaped by American industrial capacity rather than battlefield perfection. Technical dossiers from the Ordnance Corps highlight how the Sherman's gasoline engine, once seen as a fatal flaw, was balanced against its ease of maintenance and fuel availability. Meanwhile, German post-war memoirs wrestled with the psychological impact of facing overwhelming numbers of these fragile tanks that kept returning to fight. A faded poster from a 1946 American military exhibition shows a Sherman and a Panther side by side, captioned, "Quantity has a quality all its own." Was the Sherman's endurance a testament to industrial strategy rather than technological supremacy? What does this reveal about the nature of warfare and the myths we construct around it?